carried. Thank you. And now we'll move on to the Mayor's report. And now okay. Look, I mean, as you know, in my report, I list all of the events and meetings that I go to, and I'm always kind of shocked at the end of each month to see how many of those that there are. But they're all important for a whole lot of different reasons. I did highlight a couple of things, which in some ways I would have gone to whether I was the mayor or not, and one was the release of Decline and Fall on Savage Street, which is the fictional sequel to Villa at the Edge of the Empire, 100 Ways to Read a City, which is Fiona Farrell's absolutely fabulous post-earthquake book. And I haven't read Decline and Fall yet, but I'm going to. And but you know, her style of writing and the messages that are contained within it, I just really do recommend. There's such good literature coming out of the earthquakes that you know, I just really want to, you know, commend it to people. And the other's the Len Lai exhibition. You know, Dion reminded me the other day that, you know, he was born in Manchester Street. He was raised in Manchester Street, on the corner of Peterborough Street, and that little corner represents a part of his history and motivation as an artist. He kicked an old kerosene can, it caught the light, the flash, and his expression was, we're all stopped short by wonder sometimes, and that's when it first stopped me in its tracks. I mean, that story comes from, you know, Christchurch. It's a Christchurch story. So I'm just saying, you know, I'm you know, not meaning to sort of focus on that over other issues, but there's things happening in our city that relate to our history and our future. But, you know, yeah, excellent. It's the northeast corner, yes. The honorary citizenship, that was something new that came from a consideration by the council. I had the privilege, really, of presenting the honorary citizenship to the Dean of Christchurch, Oxford. And I did talk at both of them, and also to Consul General Jin on his departure from New Zealand as our second Consul General, but somebody who's just been a tireless and enthusiastic advocate for Christchurch. But at both ceremonies I talked about where my motivation for it came from, and I haven't spoken about it other than those occasions because I wasn't at the meeting where councillors passed this. But you know, I went to New Orleans after the Hurricane Katrina some years afterwards as part of my studying what happens in post-disaster environments, and I went to St Bernard Parish and they gave me honorary citizenship, and it wasn't a ceremony, it wasn't it didn't come with anything, but I felt incredibly connected, and I felt that it was more than just turning up. It was about the connection that we had. I was a member of Parliament at the time that it happened, and it's about a connection made meaningful by shared experience, which is what I said there. The response that I received from Martin Percy was extraordinary, and I'll circulate it to you all. He's written quite a it's really, you know, it's a page that expresses what it feels like to be a citizen across the history that our paths cross. It's an amazing piece. So and Consul General Jin was completely you know, taken aback. I just think that in terms of the connection that both of them represented was a really good start. So thank you for that. The Sumner Centre opening was just an absolute thrill, and Sarah and Dion, no, not Dion, Sarah and Yanni both really made that an incredibly special occasion, and it was actually quite moving. I met a woman who was working there at the time of the February earthquake in 2011, and it was the first time she was back. She was there as a volunteer making cups of tea, and she was, you know, and I said to her, I said, you must feel incredible, you know, being back here now. And she said that she always thought when she worked there that the library and the community centre should be the same. She worked in the library, and to come back and then see the museum there as well, she was just completely, you know, I don't know, moved by the whole occasion. It was fantastic. So again, it was just an incredible occasion. Now, I've been asked to talk about the Greater Christchurch Public Transport Joint Committee, and I have got some details here. So one of the things that people have asked me about is that there is that although the Greater Christchurch Public Transport Joint Committee put out a, now actually I did write down for you. Okay, so the committee is responsible for the public transport network review, and we're also responsible for the draft Regional Public Transport Plan 2018 to 2021. The draft will be ready for public consultation early next year. So that's what we're working on as a committee at the moment. We've shifted the meetings so that the meetings are now bi-monthly, and we have workshops every month. So 1 month it'll be just a workshop, and then the second month it'll be a workshop and a public meeting. There isn't much to be discussing in terms of the public meetings at the moment, but we have deputations. You know, we had the Summerfield residents turn up to talk about their desire for a bus service change in that area. So, you know, these things are sort of thrown into the mix. And then we've also had the West End people in to talk about how they are concerned with the lack of buses that go through the West End area, which is our area here. And so I'm just going to talk about that in a minute, but I'll just say a couple of other things. The amendment to the Local Government Act and the Land Transport Management Amendment Act that we have now got agreement from Parliament on didn't pass, the wider legislative change didn't pass before the election, so it will have to be addressed post-election, but we have cross-party support to give ECAN the power to devolve responsibility for public transport to a council. At the moment, the region doesn't have the legal power to actually delegate it to the council. But regardless of that, this wonderful thing called the public transport operating model continues to exist no matter who does it. So there's a lot of work that we still have to do, even if we get the law change, and then if ECAN transfers it to us, we are still bound by the public transport operating model. So there's a lot of work to do. Now, the last bit is actually really good news, which is that ECAN have gone out as a result of discussions that we've had in relation to the Joint Committee for an expression of interest for a request for tender on a shuttle for the central city. Yay! which is very good. And so, as you'll know, a previous council, the Christchurch City Council, before the earthquakes, used to run one, and basically it was ratepayer funded because it wasn't part of the public transport system. So in the inaccessible city chapter, it was expressed, I think, in an open way that said we'd like to see a central city shuttle back, but it should be part of the public transport system and not just the responsibility of the ratepayers of Christchurch. It should be able to be funded through the the joint model of funding through the public transport system. And so that's why we are out there in the market to see what the market has to offer. Yep. Vicky.
In that request for tenders, have we specified or put a weighting on that being electric?
No, we've asked for expressions of interest. I mean, for requests for tender. It's not, we haven't gone out and said we want to hear people's ideas. I mean, ECAN have done this off the back of the discussions that we've had. So it's not, it will be coming back to, they'll be reporting to us in October, as I understand it.
They'll be reporting to the council or
no,
the public
to
transport?
the Joint Public Transport Committee.
So that's more the EOI stage rather than the actual request for tender?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, apparently, according to staff, they've done it, they've gone beyond an EOI and had a request for tender process, but it's not explicit about the form of the, so they've not said it has to be electric or, you know, it's a, yeah.
We could end up with something that...
No, because we can't, we will come, if for example the joint committee declines, then we will have to consider it ourselves.
But could the joint committee conceivably put something that's not electric on the central city?
I don't think so, because we'd have to vote for it.
Right.
And I think we put weighting on that in the business case that's coming next year. We put weighting on electric. Didn't we get that?
Yeah, but we haven't even started down the track of the wider public transport.
No, but I think the committee knows that the strong feeling for electric.
But yes, but is that translated into the actual documents pre-procurement?
I don't know, I haven't seen this.
Yeah.
Well, can we just check, because I don't take things on blind faith.
No, it's not a question of blind faith. There's no, it's a report back that's coming. It's not a decision that's being asked for at this stage. But I'll get more information, but I thought it was public knowledge that it had gone out for...
Well, I've certainly known about it, but I hadn't known that it was public knowledge.
Well, I thought it was because, I mean, I know Red Bus have put in a...
Yes, I know they have.
Yeah, but that's not, it's not secret. Anyway, so... Well, they would have if they'd been at the meeting that we discussed it at in public. So it's been discussed in public at the Joint Public Transport Committee, but I don't think it's the most exciting item on the agenda for the media to be there at every meeting. So,
can I just raise a different issue that you raised, Leanne, which goes back to your comment about the excellent literature coming out of Christchurch and the amazing books that are written here. I just wonder if there's a possibility, if we could use our incredible library system to somehow showcase local literature, because there is a huge amount now being published on Amazon, publishing, so there's a lot of local authors trying to get some awareness that they're writing. They're able to publish, they're able to buy off Amazon, but getting into the libraries is not something that they know about. Whether they're 10 or 80 or Fiona Farrell or anybody from Christchurch, it would just be lovely to have some means by which people know that our libraries, provided they're of a certain standard or don't breach anything, that their books could actually be in our libraries.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I spoke to the Limited Library about that a few months ago, because I like to have like a rolling stock of 100 Canterbury books. I think they've got about 20 on a specific section of the Limited Library, but it's not rolling across the city.
But just these were written in Christchurch by Christchurch people. Pretty cool, because it's so easy to do now.
It'd be really cool just to have a rolling stock of 100.
And the other thing that we looked at possibly doing was some time ago, and it hasn't happened yet, and that's probably my fault, is actually teaching, particularly kids, but anybody, how they can actually publish and market their own book, because it is now a whole different ball game than what it used to be, and you can do it for next to no cost on Amazon. Amazingly, they'll do all the printing and everything.
Do something like that in the outreach service.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be awesome.
Cool. All right. So Would someone like to move that my report be received? Tim, seconded Dion. Any discussion? Put the motion. Oh, Glenn?
Just the, in Appendix B, you described that regional...
Should have been Appendix A, I'm sorry.
Okay, did you want to mention that?
I can do.
Okay.
What would you like?
Well, it looks quite interesting because it's obviously a lot broader than sister cities, so it's...
Oh, sorry,
quite
you're
big.
talking about
Yeah,
the one that should
with
be
Japan.
Appendix B. That's
Yep.
Appendix C. Yeah, that's it's a region to region MOU with Nagano Prefecture. Yeah, that's it's agreed in principle between the mayors of the region. It would be a first, but the Secretariat has been directed to work with Christchurch Educated and the City Council staff to draft an MOU. It's not a sister city relationship. It's basically a cooperation agreement through memorandum of understanding. I think it's ideal. Did you like the comparison between the two? If you take the two ones, there was some debate around the table as to whether Huranui should really have the wineries, but the thing was that the hot springs definitely sat in the Huranui. So it was, but I mean, I just think it's amazing when you look at the links: Sea and Lake, Hot Springs Winery, Terminal City. Gateway City might be better than Terminal. So, I don't like that word, terminal. Tramping, ski resort, compact city, star watching, which excited the Mayor of Timaru, of course. Star watching, forest and animals, and natural energy. I mean, it's just, it really, I mean, they've done their homework in terms of what connects us as a region.
It's obviously, it's hard to tell the distance from Tokyo, the intersection of 4 tectonic plates, but I guess that's another kind of
we've definitely
crisis
got that in
/
common.
opportunity intersection as well. That
Yeah, it's
we
about an
probably
hour
want
and
to
a half
explore.
on a train.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fast train, bullet train. Pauline?
Different issue?
Yep.
Just on that too, if anyone cares to Google a documentary called Strip the City, it's on Choice, you can get it online. It's amazing. They did one on Tokyo the other night and on its fault lines and what they're doing to give their city resilience. It's absolutely fascinating. My one's on the water thingy. So you've got on your report, page 1 on the water memo.
Yep.
It states that Canterbury rivers are 86% swimmable. Do we accept that, or did the forum discuss that? I don't know. And the other question I have is on page 5 or
This
86.
is everything from the Waitaki to the...
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
And point 34, the government has established a technical advisory group to advise officials on the practical impact of different options for the water allocation program, and David Cagle has been appointed. The technical advisory group will report back to government at the end of 2017. Is there going to be any oversight of that report before it goes back to the government? Perhaps it might be worth finding out, because I think it's quite it's an important issue for all of us, and be quite good to have a look at what the recommendations are.
Yeah, the government is... Yeah, I mean, this is a government piece of work.
Yeah.
David Cagle's been appointed to a technical advisory group, so I don't know that he'll be there to report back, to report through the Canterbury Mayoral Forum. I doubt he would, because there'd be only one more meeting of the forum before the end of the year, I think. I'm not sure. But I'm sure David's very open to having that conversation, so I just approach him directly, and we could also raise it through the next forum that we do with the ECAN commissioners.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, Mike.
Thank you, and apologies if you mentioned this before, but I'd just like to congratulate you on your election to the National Council of the LGNZ. Obviously, it was a lot closer vote in your mayoral campaign, and I'm just glad I got the vote right.
Well, I'd like to thank you for agreeing to support me. I was a bit worried there for a minute, but no, it was just one of those elections, which is exactly what happened last time. And I was about to say deja vu all over again, and which was that it came to a draw. And but this time, unlike last time, my name was drawn from the hat rather than the other one that I was drawn with. So yeah. There you go, but at least Canterbury now has a voice at the LGNZ decision-making table, and it's a good thing. I'm going up there on the 5th of October for a strategic planning day, and I think that will be a good forum. Actually, and you've just reminded me also, because the CDM Joint Committee had this most amazing presentation on the potential impacts of an alpine fault rupture. I mean, apropos of nothing that I just said, but it's the previous item in my report. A 30% chance of this occurring in the next 50 years, and that's a salutary reminder of how we need to be prepared. Now, I'm arranging for the presentation to be made here at a council meeting so that it's able to be live streamed, but you can go online and you can look at the video. So, and the video is... it's actually extraordinary. I mean, the thing is that we're in this environment, so we might as well know what could happen, and it does depend where the rupture starts as to the nature of the waves and how they travel and the impact that they have. But if you look at the video, you can see, you know, that one's starting down there, it actually, the waves kind of spread out. You know, like it's phenomenal. So it's well worth looking at. And I think, you know, that the whole of the South Island and the bottom half of the North Island is going to have to be really well prepared for what that will mean.
It's interesting because you look around, and I'm guilty of this, already relaxing. I've got ornaments back up that aren't tied down. I'm going to go home and sort that out now because you forget.
Yeah. Yep.
And just a question from the Mayoral Forum report in relation to the different aspects of water, and we have our own forums. And I just noticed from that report, there's other, like Department of Internal Affairs are also doing a review, as well as Ministry for the Environment, and just a whole lot of different parts, I guess, of government, and local government New Zealand, of course. So I'm just hoping that, in fact, for example, at our next forum, we can pull all of that together in terms of the national planning.
Yeah, look, I mean, the thing is that we actually, you know, have a government that has taken a particular approach around some of these things. So I just, you know, I mean, I wouldn't rely on the Canterbury Mayoral Forum to be the be-all and end-all. We get regular reports on the Canterbury Water Management Strategy, and through our involvement in the zone committees, we get regular reports now into the council. So, but we're going to have to be very alert to this. We have received staff advice on the Department of Internal Affairs review, and I believe that's where the technical advisory group comes in. So, yeah, so they are connected, but yeah, it's kind of like we're going to have a water champion around the table. Oh, you're putting your hand up. Good. Right.
Oh, I was just on that. So, I mean, there's a couple of things that have come up on. I'm on one of the zone committee working groups this week that I think would be of particular interest to the councillors. And now we've pushed their reporting back to, is it every 2 months?
Yeah.
But I wondered if we had a standing item, and if there's nothing on it, there's nothing on it. But if it was, we could get a report.
Yeah.
Just saying, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm actually going to give that some thought, because I actually think that a bit of a mind map around who's doing what would be a good thing. So if you want to make a note of that, and we'll just follow that up, but it might be through your committee, Pauline, that we get that work done.
It could be. And this was a collaborative project between the University of Canterbury, ECAN and the City Council, and some wonderful data that we got yesterday, and it's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And it also reinforces the success of the collaboration as well.
Yeah.
So anyway, give it some...
Vicky, did you have a...
I wonder if when we have the next water forum, they tend to be, sometimes avoid some of the major issues. So could we perhaps actually get the information on the shallow bores around Christchurch that do not comply and that provide a threat to the reputation of Christchurch from ECAN? Because they...
Canterbury or Christchurch City?
It's
No,
Greater
not
Christchurch.
Christchurch City. They're outside of Christchurch
I know, well,
City.
that's where the water forum doesn't exist.
Well, I don't care. Let's change the terms of reference.
We that was raised last time, and there was an attempt, I think, to narrow the focus, and both Tom and I agreed that that was not the intention, to narrow the focus. You can't talk about what's happening in Christchurch without being aware of what's happening in the wider region.
So I wonder if just for next time, because I appreciate that Tom and you are on board with it, but I'm not sure about some of the others.
No, I'm not sure of some of the others either. But you know, that goes all ways. Look, is it necessary? Because
I'm going to add if air quality could be added to that next one, or if we've got something organised underway.
and that's in my report where. Sorry,
well, it's
I'm
around that
trying
weekend.
not to add things to the report that aren't there. So could we?
It's been moved.
No, it's been moved and seconded, so I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye, those opposed say no. That's carried.